Welcome back, everybody, to the Direct Finance. Today we have Kenny Ingersoll. We're gonna talk about money mindset, finance ownership, and building family legacy. And versus money is not; it is mindset. So, can you introduce yourself? Can you
Sorry, what was that?
just give a very brief introduction and what is your doing?
Okay, yeah. So first off, thanks for having me on the show. Like you said, my name is Kenny Ingersoll. I've been in the financial services industry for 10 years, and having been in that, I've also understood not only you need to know the concepts and what things mean as far as the terms and definitions, but you also need to know your relationship to money and how you think and how you approach and what goes on kind of behind the scenes, if you will, when you think about money and when you go through your finances.
Thank you. You talk about the emotional side of money. What do the most people underestimate how emotional financial really are?
They don't often associate money and emotions together. They think they're two separate things until they get I don't want to say tragic, but a big event that happens. A car breakdown or, heaven forbid, a medical emergency, somebody gets in an accident or whatever, and medical bills, and then they start to encounter all this stress and everything that come with figuring out how to pay for that, or if their refrigerator breaks down, and then it's not planned for in their budget, and then the stress of figuring out how they're going to come up with the money for repairs or replacement.
Yeah, definitely a key point there. And I guess a lot of entrepreneurs, even myself included, I'm gonna be guilty of that. When we start, we just focus on work, but not budgeting, and that's a big mistake. I don't, I don't want to call it work, but I mean it's just something that we have to keep in mind. You also talk about when you work with family. What's the big pressure you see provider caring silently?
Yeah, a lot of the pressures is they want to put on a face, kind of like when you go on Instagram, everybody shows their best side. You don't see what really happens every day, every moment. And so a lot of the breadwinners and providers have that same thing. They have all the stress of, okay, I've got this bill to pay, I've got to make sure I get this done for the deadline, and I've got this coming up. But they don't want that weight to be transferred or to be brought to their family per se and have them feel that stress. So they kind of hide it and bury it and things, or don't talk about it as much because they don't want to either admit that they are having stress, or B, they don't want the family members to be stressed as well.
Yeah, for sure, that's a big one. Yeah, a lot of us we don't ask for help because we think asking for help will put us in a loser spot, but it's the opposite. It will put in the winner spot. Yeah, thank you. Great answer. You often say life is either built or purpose or by default. What does that mean when it comes to money?
Yeah. Money needs a job. Just like we got a job, we go to work, whatever the job may be. We show up, we do our job, make sure the customer's happy, blah, 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 all that fun stuff. Money also needs a job. Otherwise, it wanders aimlessly. If we don't have a job or we don't have something to do, a purpose, whether that's a job or a hobby or a calling or whatever the case may be, if we don't have a purpose, we just kind of wander aimlessly. Money is very similar. If it doesn't have a job, it's going to wander aimlessly and disappear. So money needs a job. It needs a purpose. Even if that purpose is saving for a rainy day, something as simple, it needs a purpose. And so you've got to be intentional with what you're doing with your money and where your money goes. Tracking and knowing wherever money goes. Otherwise, I'm an analogy guy, so I'm going to use an analogy of road trips. If you're on a road trip and you're going across the country, and then you're goal is to get it from here to here, but you just, you spend some time over here and then, oh, let's go over here. If you don't have the purpose, if you don't have that direction, you're not going to get there, or it's going to take way longer than you anticipated. It's very similar with money. If you don't have that goal, that end in mind, that destination for your money, whatever you want to do with that money,
Yep.
it's going to take forever to get there, if you get there at all.
Yep. I use these two phrases to simplify a little bit, but yeah, I would say money is like a girlfriend. If you don't pay attention to her, you don't put detail on her, it's gonna leave you. And the other one that I use that is like the example that you said, that there's the point, the right path, let's say. If you ask, this is like a from Alice of the Wonderland. If you ask the rabbit, which path should I take to get to the destination? But if the rabbit tells you, where do you want to get, or when do you want to get it, and you say, I don't know, then like you say, you're never gonna get there. Yeah, great question. Why do you so many hardworking people still feel like they are falling in financial?
A lot of it comes down to really understanding and tracking where their money goes and then what their mindset is. A lot of people, they plug in what they learn, but they don't understand what it is they know to know if they need to tweak it, if that makes sense. Again, going back to the road trip thing, if you don't analyze your directions and making sure you're on track, or if you're going over here, but your GPS is pointing over here, you don't know. If you don't analyze that, you're not going to correct the directions and stuff. And so a lot of people just reapply what they learned, what they grew up with, and that might have worked when they learned it 10, 20, 30 years ago. That might have been the correct information. But now things have changed and stuff, but their directions haven't changed, or their software is not updated, if you will. So they've got to understand that they're running on old software or old directions, if you will, a lot of times. And so they need to analyze that and get the upgrades and understand where it is they really want to go versus where their software, their directions are pointing them to.
Yeah, I tell my guys this there every time we can update like the apps on the phone or like the programs on the computer. If you are like me, I'm Apollo 1.0, tomorrow it can be Apollo 1.2 or 2.0, whatever. Change route and always adapt to, like you said, the world is changing. If we don't acknowledge that, then yeah, we're falling into the trap. How much financial success actually comes down to mindset before tragedy? How much financial success actually comes down to mindset before tragedy?
I'd say, from my experience, about 95%. A lot of sometimes you just are born into financial success or whatever, but it also goes right back to how do you define financial success. You may define it differently than I do, differently than somebody else does. And then mindset is a big thing, updating that software. If I wanted to, again, going back to the phones, whatever, call someone, I've got a fairly new phone. I'm not going to go and use one of those old things that you crank on the wall and stuff, right? So if you're not upgrading your financial success software, it's not going to get you where you want to go, or even make you really aware of where you want to go. A lot of people aren't even aware or have defined what their end goal is.
Great answer, thank you. What belief about money holds the most people back?
Money is evil. A lot of people believe money is evil. Or money makes you evil, or only bad people have money, something along those lines. One of those variables. And so they fear getting that because they don't want to become evil or the bad guy or turn
Yeah,
into one of them.
very great answer for sure. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, a lot of people think they having money is evil, or a lot of money is being evil. You become evil, but no, it's just you see the world in a different perspective. I say most of us have a tunnel vision just based on what we grew up or raised or whatever. But now once you have money, that tunnel start disappearing because now your vision will be more wide open, and that's why some people think the money is evil because now you're seeing the different world. Many people knows how to earn money, but not how to work it. What's the biggest gap between financial education today?
Feeling, again, not having that clear goal and clear destination or definition of what that goal looks like for them. You got to be very specific. If I'm in Utah and if I want to go to Florida, I can't put in my GPS Florida, because Florida's a huge state. I've got to put in the exact street address, the name of the hotel or the park or the house or whatever, so you got to be very specific. I need to go to this. I want this dollar amount by this date. I want it to do this thing. I want this, 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 this. I want this, 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 this. I'm going to do this, 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 this. Very, very specific. You need to have a very specific goal for your money and destination for where you want to go financially. And then you can reverse engineer that and start putting that plan into place.
Yeah, I read it. I read this in a book. They said if your financials are not very good or you're struggling doing it, out of the 100% that you earn or income you have, start with the 1%. Put it apart. Leave it as a caution, saving budget, whatever. That small percentage at the end of the year is gonna be 365% because you're doing every day one or every paycheck, whatever income, and then as your life start seeing that caution there, your mind will improve, and then now you're gonna do 5%, even 10, or whatever you feel comfortable. You can scale it up to 40 or whatever percent you can afford. But if you never start with 1%, it's gonna be hard.
Yep, exactly. You got to have that specific goal of where you want to go, and then do the mile by mile. Don't focus on the whole destination. Just drive that next mile. Then maybe 2 miles. Just start with that first step, just like you were saying.
Yeah, thank you. What are the basic principles families should understand about protecting and grow money?
Oh, I think one of the first things is understanding what money is. Money is a tool to get you to the end goal. Money is not the end goal. So money is a tool to get you to the end goal, just like a screwdriver or a phone or a truck or a lawnmower. It's a tool to get the job done. And then money is abundant. Money is everywhere. There's opportunities to get money everywhere. It's limited just to what's in your bank account or your wallet at the time. So knowing that money is abundant and more, you can get more, and money is a tool to get you to the destination, the end goal. Having those shifts, understanding what money is a huge start and hurdle for a lot of people.
Yeah, I like what you said that money is limited for and the way I see it, and I try to explain to my friends and co-workers and employees is I told them, why money is called currency? Because it's like a river. There is currency there. And you can be in the shallows, you can be in the middle, but the person is strong. It's your fear holding you down. So it's the same thing like money. You just put yourself like, oh, I'm bad at money and I'm just gonna stay here. You're gonna end up living that life. But if you take a little courage, start doing all those steps, like the 1% and all that, it will eventually put you in the middle of the river where the current is endless, and knows, and will drive you whatever destination you want to go. Why do schools and society fail to teach financial literacy?
I believe a lot of it is because they don't understand it as much either. Also, schools are set up to create employees. It's focused on the employee mindset. And this is not to say there's anything wrong with being an employee by any means, whatever, but
Yeah.
they're not set up to teach the in-depth financial literacy. I think they might cover some bits here and there, but I believe a lot of it is because they don't understand it themselves, or they haven't been taught as well in order to allow that or add that curriculum into the school systems.
Yeah. The good thing about this era right now, the time that we're living, there is so many tools that make it more easy for us to create budgets and understand money. As an example, we can ask an AI agent or even throw our statements to them. Like you can upload the files that if you pay the $20 monthly and you put your payments there and tell them, can you track my spendings? It will give you a list of where to cut, where to put, what to improve, without hiring a way expensive accountant or whatever. You can afford $20 to pay ChatGPT or any other AI agent, and it will give you a roadmap to this. Many listeners are business owners and parents. What purpose do you providers care to the most people to don't talk about money?
That's because they don't understand it, or that's how they were raised. You don't talk about money. It's very private. You don't need to share this and stuff, and so it's just the socially accepted, or the stigma, but it's just how a lot of people were raised, or they don't want to feel embarrassed or ashamed in other people. If I'm $1 million in debt and I'm struggling and I'm embarrassed and ashamed and stuff, I would feel even more embarrassed if I shared it with you or my brother or my best friend and stuff. And I don't want them to know that I'm struggling. So I think a lot of that just comes down to lack of understanding, and then lack of support. If I say I'm $1 million in debt and I'm really ashamed and blah 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 blah, and I get, well, you suck, or you really messed up bad, then yeah, I don't want to share with anybody else. But if I've got the right people and they say, okay, there were some mistakes made, but we can fix it, you can get out of that, let's help you get above that, and let's get you where you want to go. If we were surrounded by the people that understood it and more supportive, I think it would be more openly spoken about. But instead we get a lot of the negative, well, that sucks to be you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that I think is one of the biggest mindsets that we have. When people talk about money or open up about that, we've been just as a loser or something. Yeah. And what's the financial stress affect family relationship?
Financial stress, you said?
Yes.
Because it adds more to people's plate, and so a lot of times it's so easy to fight against each other because of the problem. Because they're stressed, it's easier for them to lash out or say things they wouldn't normally say and things like that, just like any stress would do. And it's easy for people to go against each other instead of working together against the problem. But it's also, again, because we don't feel we can speak about it openly, and we feel we have to carry this burden ourselves, and we got it all bottled up, and all the weight of this and this. And, I've been, if the breadwinner comes home and they're thinking to themselves, I work 100 hours a week and I barely have $5 left over at the end of the month, and I get home after a long day, and of course, when you're stressed, you look for the negative. It's easier to look for the negative. You get home and working a long day, and the food's not ready, or dishes aren't done, or chaos like crazy, and now you want to go buy this, and what do you think I made of money, and blah 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 blah. So
Yeah.
it's that burden that we carry that adds to our emotions and stuff. But if we feel more open, if we have that supportive partner, that supportive family or business associates and stuff, say that we can talk to and feel freely, then the stress also is able to be spread and shared and reduced and stuff, and the solutions help reduce it and then reverse it, so that you're on the upside versus always trying to bottle it in.
What's the responsibility of financial leadership looks like inside a household?
I think the responsibility is to learn as much as you can. In a household, I think it falls heavily on the parents to be open. First of all, they have to be open to learning and be vulnerable. Hey, I do need some help. Can you help me understand this? And then learning and understanding and applying as much as they can, and then involving their children as well, so the children learn it. I think children should start learning financial literacy as soon as they can have a conversation. Whether that's 2 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, at different stages, you could teach different things. You're not going to have an hour discussion with a 2-year-old, but you can talk about a piggy bank for a minute, so make it applicable to the age. But I think they should start learning and talking and being comfortable talking about money at the very get-go.
Between making money and building. What's the difference between making money and building a wealth?
Oh, making money, you just you go do your job, do your work, and then you get paid. You can make money all day long. Then using it well is having that definition, that intention, that goal for the money. And tracking it. If you don't track it, or like you said, if you don't pay attention to the girlfriend, they're gonna leave you. So you gotta pay attention to it. Okay, this is how much I made. This is where it's going. This is what I want it to do. This is its job, its purpose, and here's why. So having that target, having that structure, having that vision for what the money is going to do is, I think, are the key things.
Why is protection just as important as growth when it comes to finances?
Because protecting it, depending on what aspect of protecting it, like with some things, let's take stock markets. You're growing it, you can grow it, but there's a negative side, right? You could lose it a lot. Now, the stock market is a very good option, and there's lots of money to be made and stuff, so again, no negativity towards it at all. But if it's not protected, or you don't have some protected, and you put it all in one basket, it could be almost no different than going to the casino in Vegas. You could walk in with $100,000 and gamble it away in 5 minutes, and it's gone. But if you have some protected, and again, budgeting and understanding, if you have some at risk, okay, I plan to put X% in this account. That way, if I lose it, I'm still okay. You want to be smart about it. And then have some over here where it's more protected, more safe. That way, I have it definitely in case something happens over here, or in cases like 2008 with the real estate crash, banks went under.
Yeah.
So if you're all invested in the bank and it just happened to go under, but having I think some diversification when you're ready, and making sure you're not putting all eggs in one basket, that you could potentially lose it if something goes negative.
How can families start creating generational legacy instead of living paycheck to paycheck?
It goes back to a few things we mentioned before, is again having that goal. When you're talking legacy, I think long term, it's not just 2 weeks from now. You're thinking 5, 10, 15, 100, 200 years from now, and starting to put that 1% aside. Okay, I could do $5 in savings this month, and then the next month you could do $10 a month, and then increasing your focus on that goal and making those shifts, thinking long term, and then back engineering it. Okay, what can I do today that's going to get me closer to this goal, so that in 100 years my family is well established with this and this, whatever this and this may be. But setting up that foundation, having that clear defined goal, having that very specific target, and then just starting with the baby steps, or as minimal as you need, but as much as comfortable.
Thank you. Just speak about faith as part of financial improvement. How those two connect?
I think for me, I am a person of faith, so I think that's 100% in everything. God is part of my life in every aspect. He is the ultimate mentor, the ultimate tour guide, the ultimate GPS. Having faith in whatever that looks like for you puts your focus and your purpose in something bigger than yourself, and in someone bigger than yourself. For me, it's God. So I'm putting that faith and that desire. I guess in a way, it's like before I was married and had kids, I just had me to worry about. And I was just going to work and doing stuff for me. But now that I'm married and kids, I have a bigger purpose, a bigger end goal. And so it's similar for me, at least, when having faith in God, there's a bigger reason, a much bigger thing. I'm just a small little teeny part of this bigger plan. And I'm grateful for that. But He knows the whole route. I might know the next 3 steps, but He has the whole picture, whatever analogy you want to use. He knows what's going to happen in 300 years, and that you need to do now to put that into effect.
Thank you. Yeah, he will guide us through get to 300 years. Yeah, thank you. What does stewardship means when it comes to money?
I think stewardship is responsibility, care is understanding. If you have a kid or a dog, you gotta provide for their needs, understand what their needs are, be there for them, pay attention to them, make sure they're healthy, know where they're at. If my kid leaves the house, I want to know where they're going, when they'll be back, who they're going to be with, all those things. That same applies to money. What's its purpose? Where's it going? What's it doing? All those things, and caring for that tool. You're landscaping, so what's one of your most expensive tools that you have?
Yeah, the equipment like excavator.
Yeah. Okay, let's use the excavator. If you left it out with the windows open in a hurricane, or didn't put maintenance in it, or didn't wash it, or change the oil, or change out parts when they're wearing out, things like that, what's going to happen to your excavator?
Yeah, it's gonna definitely go. But
Yeah. So similar with money, you've got to take care of it. You got to understand it. You got to, keep up on it, the routine, the upgrades. You got to be mindful, just like a tool of your business, just like a kid or a pet, basically.
yeah, great answer. Thank you. How can faith change the way people think about success and ownership?
Purpose. It goes back to purpose. Like I mentioned before I was married, it was just me. But now my purpose is bigger. When you have faith, you understand there's more, there's a bigger purpose, and I'm just a tiny part of that bigger purpose. And so it gives more meaning to what I'm doing with my mindset, with my finances, and with the money as a tool.
Many landscapers and contractors makes good money, but still struggle financially. Why does that happen?
It comes down to their understanding of money and a lot of times just tracking the money. They just get their paycheck and then kind of disappears into the ethos, if you will, of their bank accounts and their bills and stuff. But do they track every single penny? Do they track where it all goes? And when they track that, do they really need those things? Do they really have to have those things, or can it be used for a better purpose and stuff? So just tracking it, understanding where it goes, and then does it have a purpose? Does the money have a goal, or is it just to go pay bills and have some fun on the weekends?
Yeah, but one thing I did at the beginning, I'm guilty of that as well, is just money comes, it can come a lot, but it won't stay. So, meaning, as an example, I was getting paid probably 60,000, maybe more a month. The money was just passing to my account, wasn't staying there. But in my mind, I said, we're getting this much, or we had this much money. But it was never banking there or sitting, it was just passing through my account, paying bills, paying suppliers, paying labor. And until I stop and making sure, like you say, tracking where the spendings are going, how much expenses are doing, if there is mistakes that we had to pay extra amount of money because of the guys did wrong or there wasn't lack of supervision. So that I think most of us at the starting point, why on what financial habits should business owners use early?
Similar tracking, what the goal is. Money is a tool, but yeah, the biggest thing is having that specific goal and that target, and then tracking the money as it comes in.
How can entrepreneurs separate personal finance from business finance responsibility?
Excuse me. Having separate accounts. My businesses go into one account, and then from there it comes into my personal account. So it's easy to keep them separate. So I pay all my business expenses from my business account, all my personal expenses from my personal account. A lot of times entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, they have it all in one. So it's easy to get muddled up and hard to determine which one's which. And, but if you have it set up in completely separate accounts, even in different banks, my business is in this bank and my personal is in this bank. That way the cards are different and everything is different, and it's easier for you to track, if that helps.
Mm-hmm.
And just keeping them separate and then avoiding crossing back and forth.
Thank you. What mindset shift can change someone's financial trajectory the fastest?
Purpose and belief. Believing it's possible for you, having a purpose, and then a openness and willingness to change. I can give you all the knowledge or all the expertise I have and all the books and stuff, but if you're not open to learning and changing, it's not going to do you any good.
Why does financial clarity bring peace of mind?
Because you don't have the financial stress. Knowing where your money is, where your money is going, knowing that it has a purpose, knowing that you have some in savings that's its job. This money's job is savings. This money's job is this. This money's job is in emergency funds. Knowing everything's set up and it's not just passing through your accounts, or you don't know where it's all going and you only have $5 at the end of the month, or even less sometimes. Then you don't have the stress of wondering if that bill's going to get paid, or if I can put gas in my car, or whatever. So just knowing where your money is going and having that purpose.
How does people break free from cycles of financial stress?
It goes back to openness and willingness to make those small changes. If you know you're on a cycle, maybe you just got to start with that 1% and take a little step out. Now, you might get sucked back into the circle a little bit, but pretty soon you can get further and further away from it, or create a different circle, or again, a GPS. If you're on this, then maybe you just start going a little bit different than what you were before. Make that 1% change, and then 2%, and then pretty soon it's a huge difference.
One money myth people need to stop believing.
Something that people need to stop believing is money scarcity. That, well, I only have $100 in my bank account, so that's all the money I have. No, money is abundant. Like you said with the river. If you're on the very edge of it and you're just barely dipping your toe in it, that's all you're going to get. But you could step out into the middle and get all the money you want. The money is abundant. So believing it's scarce. And then also I would say money is a tool. A lot of people put money on a pedestal and they believe it's more important than it is. So they need to believe the money is a tool, and it's okay to spend some of that money or invest some of that money for getting to the better place, getting improvement. If you going back to your excavator, you invested, I'm just going to throw a number out there and say $200,000, but it's going to help your business a lot better than spending the $20 on a shovel. It'll make your business more efficient, more capable, faster, all those sorts of things. So money is a tool. You use the tool of money to get you that excavator to grow your business.
One habit that builds financial discipline.
Sorry, what was that?
One habit that builds financial discipline.
Simple habit is learning something new every day, or creating that, setting something aside, paying yourself first. That's a huge one. If you pay yourself first, even if it's $1 a month, that goes to you. That goes to savings or, whatever, your specific account. Give it a specific job, but pay yourself first. A lot of people get their paycheck and then they'll pay bills and mortgage and groceries and everything else, and then they won't have anything left over to save. But if you pay yourself first and set that aside, everything else will fall into place, and you'll figure out how to make up that gap. You'll be able to be more resourceful, more creative, provide more value to get more income to fill that gap. So I would say pay yourself first.
One thing every parent should teach their kids about money.
Money is a tool. Money is not scarce. So yeah, it's okay to talk about money.
Big one and good one. Thank you. If someone listens and feel overwhelmed financially right now, what is the first step they should take toward building their life on purpose?
Just, if they're feeling overwhelmed, it's usually because they're trying to do too much at once or take in too much at once. Just start with one thing. Pick one goal. If it's paying yourself first, if it's learning something every day, if it's whatever it is, just focus on one thing for a while. And then you can bring in a little bit more, maybe 2 or 3 things and stuff, but just focus on the one thing. Like again, don't focus on the whole journey, focus on that next mile.
Yeah, but one thing to simplify it and make people use that one thing method is making a list and put that list, whatever, the 20 or whatever, as big as the problem that you think you have, put it on the list. And if you want to number them or whatever, and start from top to bottom, like number 1, check it when you're done it. The less you know, you will have finished with that list, even though it's 100 points big. But if you try to tackle everything at once, you're not gonna accomplish none of them. So yeah, they're just one by one. So it was great questions here, great answer from Kenny. I'm done with my questions, but I mean, where can people find you on social media?
I'm all over social media. The quickest way is IngersollEnterprises.com. That'll connect you directly with me. That'll get you all my social media links. I'm all over Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, but IngersollEnterprises.com.
Talk about a bit about your business and how can people benefit from them.
So yeah, if you have any questions or need any help, we do financial services. I do money mindset coaching. So with the financial services, it's budgeting, it's retirement, it's life insurance, but with a focus and emphasis on education. So if you need help, like you said, with that first thing on the list, education is our big focus. So getting you helping you understand where your money's at and what money is, and then helping you understand your relationship with money as well.
Okay, we're gonna if you can share all your social media tags and links, so we're gonna have it in the video description so people can connect with you and ask for your services. Again, thank you very much for your time. It was a great episode. I learned a lot, and it was a pleasure having you.
Well, thank you for having me on. I enjoyed being here, and I look forward to connecting more.
Thank you.